Chapter 3. The Gathering at the River. Morning broke with a light that shimmered like glass upon the surface of Lake Michigan. Word had spread throughout the city, the waters had begun to move against the wind, flowing inward instead of out. Crowds gathered along the shoreline, drawn not by fear, but by something deeper, something pulling at the spirit. People of every nation stood shoulder to shoulder, their faces turned toward the lake as though expecting an answer. Eli stood among them, his Bible pressed to his chest. He had followed the tug in his heart from the west side all the way to the water's edge. Around him, he heard prayers in many tongues, songs in unfamiliar melodies, and the murmurs of children pointing toward the rippling surface. The reflection of the city wavered across the lake like a living thing, the skyline bending and shifting in ways that made the crowd gasp. It was as if Chicago itself was breathing, whispering through the waves. A woman beside Eli began to cry. She was dressed in white, her voice trembling as she quoted Revelation chapter 17 verse 15, "The waters which thou saw, where the horse sits, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues." Her words carried on the wind, and many stepped back in awe. Eli turned toward her, but before he could speak, a low sound rose from the depths, the same hum that had haunted the night before. The lake quivered, and a ring of light began to spread across the surface, circling outward until it reached the pier. Phones came out to record, but most were too stunned to speak. The light grew brighter until it revealed shapes beneath the water, not shadows, but symbols. Some saw crosses, others saw eyes, some claimed to see their own reflections transformed. Eli fell to his knees, whispering, "Lord, what is this?" The answer came not as a voice, but as remembrance, bringing to mind Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 14, "For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea." A great calm fell over the crowd. The wind stopped. The air thickened, as though heaven and earth had drawn close enough to touch. Then a child stepped forward, a boy no older than 10, wearing a small backpack and holding a single white stone. He walked past the barricades and into the shallow water, his feet leaving no mark. The police called out, but the boy did not turn. He raised the stone high and said in a voice that echoed across the waves, "He is coming." Panic rippled through the onlookers. Some fled, others dropped to their knees. Eli rose slowly, his eyes fixed on the boy, who now stood surrounded by light. The hum deepened, the sound of many nations murmuring in unison, yet not in chaos, but in harmony. It was as if every language had found a single truth to speak at once. Then, just as suddenly, the light vanished. The boy was gone. The waters grew still again. Reporters would later say it was a mirage, a trick of sound and sun. But Eli knew better. The stone, now resting at the water's edge, bore strange markings, symbols he had never seen before yet somehow understood. They spoke of covenant, of warning, of gathering. He turned his eyes to heaven and whispered Matthew chapter 24 verse 30, "And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven." The nations had gathered by the river, but not all who came had come to worship. For while many hearts sought light, others had come to claim power. And in the shadows beyond the crowd, unseen eyes watched the water with purpose. The city had become a stage, and the first act of revelation had just begun.